Hello there. I'm Warlock Archer. You might know about me or not. I don't know. But anywho, today we're doing kind of a weird video that I've never done before. We're going to be doing a video where I discuss every single Deltarune theory I have come up with ever since I've played Chapter 3 and 4. By the way, massive spoilers for all of Deltarune in here, and a little bit of Undertale, because we're going to go into some Undertale stuff. But yeah, so today's gimmick is, I got some Fireball recently, and we're going to be, for each theory, I'm going to be taking a shot beforehand. Now then, I don't have a shot glass, but I got a little bourbon glass, so we'll pour a little glass here, so let's get started. That was not semi Fireball. That's a shot, I think. That's probably so much luck. Imagine. Alright, so, for our first theory. Now, I know this theory's been talked about a lot online, so that's why we're doing this one first. But, anywho, I think the knight is Des, simply because, like, look at her design. Look at the knight's design. What do you see? You see the antlers, and then also, when the knight conjures their sword, it looks like a baseball bat. Now, in Des's room, I think in Des's room, and some other context clues, I can't remember where I found them exactly, but basically, Des has a lot of heavy association with baseball bats, along with the fact that Des is left-handed, as we know from her desktop, or her mouse placement that was called out if you interact with it, and the knight appears to be left-handed looking at their battle animations. So, yeah, Des is, I think, 100% the knight. Now I do think, yeah, Des is definitely the knight. But, on that subject as well, I don't think she's the only person that's the knight. We're gonna get on that later, much later in here, when I've had more to drink. But, yeah, I do definitely think the knight is Des, but I don't think Des is the only person that is the knight. So, yeah. Oh god, I'm gonna be looking to drink a lot more than I thought I would, in a lot quicker time than I thought I would. Anywho, let's take our next shot for the next theory. That's enough. Alright, theory 2 shot down the hatch. Theory 2. So, yeah, people online I've seen speculate that Carol is the knight. I don't think that's the case, but I do think that Carol is working with the knight for a few reasons. One, when Kris is on the phone with, I presume, the knight or Carol, as soon as in Chapter 4, when Kris is done, puts soul away and we get back in her body, Carol shows up almost immediately. Not to mention she has This is why the reason why I think the knight is so good with swordsmanship, along with the baseball bat thing, is the fact that Carol also has a katana. So that might also lean to like the whole, like, or at least blue red herring that Carol is working with the knight or related to the knight. If you go into Carol's room through the vents, you can just see in your limited sight of vision a katana. Not to mention in the mayor in town hall, I forget which one, but there's an NPC that if you interact with them, they'll basically be like, yeah, the mayor cut up all my files, my suitcase, with her katana, so that. But as for why Carol is working with the knight, I think it's because we all know about the bunker and how there's like a giant dark fountain in it, at least, yeah, Chapter 3 kind of alludes to that. We know the knight goes there, based on the knight booking it out of the Dreamer household. But yeah, and Carol would have access to the bunker because she has the code. But yeah, so. God, it's already kicking in. Yeah, I'm a lightweight when it comes to drinking. Oh, yeah, so the reason why Carol's also wearing that, I think Carol's trying to save Des. Especially because I think Des fell into like a super dark fountain or something like that. And basically got transformed to the knight as we see them today in the game, along with another theory that I'm going to go into a bit later. I think Carol's trying to help the knight because I think she is thinking like basically if the knight gets their plan done, then Des will be set free and can go back home. And yeah, there's actually one more theory. I need to actually put in my list real quick. All right, now then, on to the newly added chapter, theory 3. Okay, I'm taking 12 shots in total. Oh god, this is not gonna go well. Okay. We're taking a little shot, because this is a mini theory. Theory number 3. Now, this is a little theory I have. If this isn't true, I'm not going to be surprised. But in Deltarune Chapter 3, if you at least score a B rank for the games for a round, you can access a prize machine. Now, in that prize machine, if you spend exactly, like in one go, not like over course time, if you spend exactly 1,225 points, the room goes dark, all your teammates disappear, and the machine, you can't leave the room, and the machine's little prize hole is now a door, not physically, you can't see it, but like you can walk through it as if it were a door, in which you'll go into what seems like to be, good lord, what appears to be a dev room of sorts. Now, if you walk around there a bit, you can find a smaller blue prize machine. When interacting with it, there's a short little monologue about like, you rotate it and like a ball comes out. I think there's like a glass shard inside. You drop it, you go to pick it up, and you can't find it. And then Kris realizes, oh, they can't find their hand. Now, what I think this implies, because there's also mention of like shadowy stuff, and it was like a shadow crystal, I think. But what I think this is implying is that Kris saw the event that Des went missing and tried to reach out to save her, but in the process, that didn't work out, either because they were too young or they weren't strong enough, or multitudes of reasons. But yeah, I think they're kind of supposed to be symbolically be like Kris couldn't save Des from her fate. But I would not take this theory too seriously, given the fact that it's a small theory I had. I don't know if it's exactly right. Now then, oh god, okay, shot number 4. Here we go. I'm gonna hate Fireball by the end of the night. Down the hatch. That was too big. That was too much. Theory number 4. So, the reason why I think this is because, A, in the prophecy there's mention of 2 girls. One of them is the girl with hope crossing her heart. I don't think that's Susie. The other one is just at last was the girl, and last was the girl, at last was the girl. And it had the castings. I think that last girl in the prophecy was Susie. I think the hope crossing her heart girl is Noelle for a few reasons. One, beginning of the game, when you're gonna go to the dark closet to go get the checkout for chalk or whatever, Noelle offered to go first before Susie charged into the room. Actually, let me just go on a quick tangent here. I think Susie, for the most part, isn't even really accounted for by the prophecy. I think Susie is, that's for a later theory. I'm going to hold off on that for now. But anywho, Noelle, she offers to go to the closet with you, which would cause her to go to the dark room instead of Susie, but then Susie charged in, leading that whole fiasco. Actually, I'll just go over it now. Anywho, back to the side tangent again. This is not great. I think Susie's going to be an entire, Susie is going to fucking turn the prophecy on its head, because with fucking Gerson, Gerson's kind of like, yeah, you can break prophecy's a story, and the Hammered book that the book series Gerson wrote is a story that's based off the prophecy. It's not exactly the prophecy, but it's based off it. Dragon Blazers is the same deal, and Deltarune, I think, is going to be the same deal as well. And I think Susie's going to be the thing that gives the Deltarune its variation from the prophecy. Oh my god. But, yeah. Anywho, other reasons why I think Noelle was the girl in the prophecy. In the art of the prophecy, it constantly shows the girl having a sword, which Susie cannot equip swords. But, despite Noelle, in at least chapter 2, she can only equip rings. But in not even chapters, but in the code of the game, and according to the Deltarune wiki, there are 2 swords Noelle can equip. One of them is a pencil that can be found in Noelle's room that you can take as Kris, and the other one, I think, is the Twisted Sword, which is a sword we can't obtain. Let me double check this real quick. And Noelle can also equip the Black Shard, which is a sword normally Kris can only obtain, but you only get that by defeating the Knight in Chapter 3, which, yes, you can do if you didn't know that. You just gotta get Outer Communion the Shadow Mantle by getting S ranks in all the rounds. S ranks are higher in all the rounds, which then will lead down various mini games that you can do in the S rank room, where you can go down this, kind of go down like the not even. It feels like a weird route. It's not, but you basically get the Shadow Mantle, and then you can defeat the Knight if you're cracked at the game like I am. Oh yeah, pro gamer. But anywho, the Black Shard is the weapon dropped by the Knight after you defeat them. So yeah, Kris and Noelle can use that along with that other sword I mentioned, the pencil. Which, by the way, if you didn't know, all Kris's swords, for the most parts, are pencils. The wooden sword, that's a regular pencil. The mechanical sword, that's a pencil. The bounce blade, that's an eraser. All that kind of stuff. But Noelle is definitely the girl in the prophecy. Especially because it also mentioned that Rousey said that the girl's supposed to wear ribbons. Susie would not be caught wearing ribbons, especially because Susie can't even have ribbons equipped. But you know who would have ribbons equipped? I'm pretty sure it's ribbons in her design. Fucking Noelle. But yeah, I think that Noelle is the girl of the prophecy, and with the fact that the prophecy also the girls finds love, and Noelle is fucking having a lesbian panic attack over Susie 24/7 whenever they're near each other. Yeah, I think Noelle's the girl. And I think with how... I also got this other weird side theory, is that if you do the weird route, you are following the prophecy to a greater extent that you already are in the game. For a few reasons. Mainly being like, with how the weird route kind of goes, A, you're making the girl stronger, you're making Noelle stronger, and B, there's kind of like this weird like forced marriage type thing going on in the weird route that, like, with the thorn ring, I think the prophecy would be kind of like, oh yeah, the girl in the cage fall in love. I don't know. The point is, like, the weird route, I'm going to talk about the weird route later, but like the weird route, I think the weird route might be like the prophecy being taken too far and too literally in a very weird way. But yeah, anywho. Oh god, I have 7 more theories. Okay, 7 more shots. Go. We're gonna move on to theory number 5. That's enough. Theory number 5 is kind of a mini theory. That's why I took a tiny shot, also because I didn't want to drink that much for this theory. But again, I wouldn't take this one too seriously, but I kind of have a gut feeling on where chapter 6 and 7 are going to take place, because we already know chapter 5 is going to take place in Asgore's flower shop, based on the prophecy and stuff Gerson has said. But I think chapter 6 is going to take place in the hospital. And we're going to get a nice arc. We're going to have Noelle come back into the Dark World. We're going to have a nice arc with Rudy, where I think he's going to be at full health, and we're going to be talking about Rudy later. But I think some stuff's going to happen to Rudy, and I think the Knight is going to be revealed as Des in chapter 6. And as for chapter 7, the bunker's being hyped up way too much. Not way too much. I like the hype around it, but like chapter 7 is definitely going to be taking place in the shelter / the bunker. I can feel it in my balls. But yeah. Yeah, other than that, I think also chapter 5, maybe 6, might have some festival stuff going on. But I think that's going to be kind of like how chapter 4 is a bit more light world heavy. I think chapter 5's light world heavy part's going to be the festival, and I could even see it being the case where we do the dark world first and then go into and do the light world stuff. It's like an inverse of chapter 4. Now then, another shot to our next theory. It's too much. It's too much. Chapter 6. Not chapter 6. My theory number 6 is that not end because we all know as according to Toby, there's only going to be one ending in the game. But I think what's going to happen is in chapter 5, there's going to be kind of like a soft, hard end in chapter 5 for the weird route, and this is because on the Deltarune website there was a image that showed it showed 2, 3, 4, 5 on it. And for each of those, it had chapter 2 was enlarged, chapter 3 was pretty small, chapter 4 was enlarged, and then chapter 5 was like a nice medium size. And I think this is trying to show like what chapters are affected by the weird route and how much they are affected by the weird route. And because chapter 5, there's no 6 or 7 in that image, I don't think the weird route's going to go past chapter 6. I don't think the weird route's going to go past chapter 5. I think the weird route's going to end at chapter 5. And if not end, it's going to be kind of like you cannot progress past chapter 5 if you've caused the weird route. Simply because I'm just going off the image, and then also I could maybe see there being a Dark Fountain being made during the festival. And which is going to be like a big event, and I could see where like there's kind of like a mini roaring going on. Chapter 5. This is all speculation at this point, but I could see where if you're doing the weird route, then that's just it. That's the fucking game. Now then, I'm gonna take smaller shots because, good God, I'm gonna get fucked up by this thing. For our next theory. This is not a mini theory, but this is now the hatch. Theory 7.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
I do not see Rudy making it to the end of Deltarune, especially with the illness and my aforementioned thoughts on chapter 6, chapter 6 being taking place in the hospital. So, when I mentioned earlier, stuff going on with Rudy in chapter 6, what I think is going to happen is in chapter 6, we're going to see a fully healthy and fully regained to strength Rudy. And it's going to be with Noelle, and it's going to be all sweet and wholesome, and then the knight's going to show up. What I think is going to happen here is that Rudy is going to get killed by the knight, whether on purpose or an accident, and when this happens, I think it'd be like knight's like attacking Noelle for some reason, but Rudy's gonna Rudy's gonna like save Noelle or whatever, and Rudy's gonna die in the process. When this happens, I think Knight's gonna fucking lose it a little bit, and it's gonna be revealed that Knight's deaths and something else, which I'm gonna get into later. But that's gonna cause the game to kind of shift tones even more than it already has, and I think that. If that knight doesn't kill Rudy, whatever illness he has is going to kill him in chapter 7. Next theory. Here's... For my next theory, I'm going to use some back information. So, people in the Deltarune Undertale theory speculation already kind of are guessing that Gaster is heavily involved in Deltarune. People are thinking that it's the narrator, like the thing where you're making your vessel, and like the end of chapter 4. I think that's Gaster. And this already kind of goes. I think the Gaster in Deltarune is the Gaster from Undertale. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, in Undertale there was a character called Professor W.D. Gaster, and he used to be the royal scientist before Alphys, And the deal with him was he made the core and made some other strange inventions. And when he fell into one of his inventions, people think it's the core. I think it's the weird giant Gaster blaster looking thing in the lab in Undertale. But Gaster falls in and says is like obliterate or remove from existence. I think that, and a lot of people, Deltarune's theory, I think that that causes Gaster to go to Deltarune. I also think that, this kind of plays in here, I think that Gaster going to Deltarune, he hops in before the events of the game. I think Gaster would actually hop in when Des goes missing, causing the first ever dark fountain in the bunker. Now then, for the actual theory as well. I think not only is Des the night they did like a fucking fusion dance on arrival, or like when they got there and they kind of merged into one being. And the reason why I think this is because the night, I wouldn't say isn't all exactly there, especially with how they behaved in chapter 4 and how they kind of outburst in chapter 3. I think they're a little, don't think they're all there mentally. But on top of that, when the knight is introduced, they're kind of like hanging their head over or whatever. There's a few key details. One, there's a weird circle thing on the knight's head around here-ish. Little eye, I think that's a crack in it. Let me look at it real quick. I can't find it on Google Images, but basically, when the knight's introduced, they're kind of like hung over a little bit, they're kind of hunched over a little bit, and there's what looks like a cracked eye, or a pair set of eyes, that kind of remind me of Gaster's face in Undertale. Picture somewhere else on the screen showing that. And then also, the knight has two holes, has a hole on each hand, and when referring to Gaster's art in Undertale, there's also holes where we think there are holes where the hands are. On top of that, the knight is only black and white, and Gaster's color palette is the same deal. And yeah. Now then, on to the next theory. So, next theory. Theory 9. I think that Sans, and the reason being here is that in Undertale, Sans is a lot more, well, he's still kind of the same, but like during the fight against Azrael in Undertale, when Sans has all his memories removed, or like he can't recognize anything, he's very fucking depressed. He's crying. He talks because he's the wavy text. And additionally, he talks about like they're gone, they're all gone, or like don't try to go back. Additionally, in Undertale, monsters don't really bleed, no matter how much you beat them up. Like even when you like strike down Toriel or Asgore, no one bleeds, but Sans does. And in Deltarune, we know monsters bleed because when Susie punches the final frame of the prophecy, her hand is gushing blood. So I think that Sans, somehow, I think it's probably going to happen in chapter 5, maybe 6 or 7. I think no, probably not 5. But I think Sans is going to get transported to Undertale during chapter 6, maybe 7, probably 7. And that's going to be the same Sans. Additionally, in Sans' workshop behind his house, there is a couple things. There is a machine that's under a tarp. I think that's probably going to be the transportation machine, how he got there. And then there's also a picture that I think describes like faces that you recognize but can't name or something like that, like familiar faces or something like that. There's also blueprints. If you attempt to interact with them, they are written in unreadable symbols, which might be wingdings, which can be associated with W.D. Gaster. And their second drawer contains a badge, which could be a police badge or something related to the Deltarune world. Maybe they're going to be like the Dreamer household badge. I don't know. Probably going to be Undyne's police badge, if I had to guess. A photo album with and there's also, this is me reading from the wiki, there's a photo album with photos of a happy Sans along with many other people the protagonist does not recognize after Azrael's battle. Another photo shows up with the protagonist, Sans, and all the protagonist's friends. Finally, and then there's a patch. After talking with Clam Girl and learning of Suzy, Suzy, in Undertale, a card sticking out from the back flap of the binder. Pick a photo album appears, describing a poorly drawn picture of 3 smiling people with the words "Don't forget" written in lowercase. Now, that's, you know, it's a lot of things. I don't think Susie Susie and Deltarune probably doesn't have the best like writing skills, or like I say, like handwriting or drawing skills, just based on how like character archetype is. But I think, yeah, I especially because you never see Susie or Rouse, and you don't see a counterpart of Susie or Rouse. It's like very direct in Undertale, and Kris and Frisk, their designs are different enough. But yeah, I think that Sans Undertale is Sans Deltarune, and going along my theory about how Gaster Undertale is also Gaster Undertale, this is going into my last big theory. Last shot. For my last theory. We're done with this now. We're done with that. That's done. For my last theory. Undertale and Deltarune are in a time loop. More specifically, going with how I think, you know, Gaster went to Deltarune after falling into the core, which then, according to my theories and like how I've been describing things, causes the events of the game, and yeah, so Gaster fell into the core or some other machine that he made, got transported to Deltarune, fused with Des, became the Knight, which then set off the whole events of the main game, after Des went missing, and then, my theory does hold up, when Sans goes to Undertale, he would actually arrive in Undertale before Gaster would leave, and we know this because, and this is me speculating here, in Gaster's lab reports in the underground lab, which you can only obtain by kind of like messing with the files to go into rooms you're not normally supposed to be able to go to, Gaster can be heard, is talking to multiple people, and I think it's theorized or confirmed that those other people are Alphys and Sans. And so what I think the case is, especially because in Snowden it's kind of mentioned that the Skeleton Brothers just kind of showed up one day, which could be Pyrus is the same Pyrus that's in Undertale, but I don't think that, I mean, Deltarune, but I don't think it's the case, because unless Pyrus is really young in Deltarune, Pyrus has no memories of Deltarune, as far as I'm aware. And the reason, okay, back to the time thing. Okay, yeah. But yeah, and so Sans is like talking to Gaster, which then Gaster would fall into the core, and then Gaster falling into the core causes Sans to go to Undertale. So I think that because of the events, Deltarune and Undertale are in a soft time loop, especially because there's a third actor in the time loop, my time loop theory, and that's you, the player. Because Deltarune is heavily encouraged, I think Toby and other fans have said, like Toby has said, that for playing Deltarune, you want to play Undertale first. You absolutely want to play Undertale first. And this is because you're playing as Kris at the end of day 2. Yeah, at the end of day 2, you can go up to Santa's store and you can talk to him and be like, oh, hey, I know you, or oh, hey, how's your brother, even though he's never brought him up. And then on top of that, you can also talk to other characters in Deltarune, but I don't think they have. Other characters don't get transported to Undertale. But basically, this whole thing starts because basically Gaster, basically how it goes, Sans goes to Undertale, meets Gaster, they get talking, Gaster goes to Deltarune, you the player show up in Undertale, you complete Undertale, then you the player go to Deltarune, then Gaster goes to Deltarune, cause the events of the game, you the player show up from Undertale in Deltarune, which you meet Sans. Sans then, at some point in Chapter 6 or 7, I think, is going to be transported back to Undertale, and the loop persists. So that's my final verdict. That's my theory. That's my big takeaway theory is that Undertale and Deltarune are in a time loop of sorts. So with that, I'm gonna hope to God I don't vomit later, and I'm gonna go put this away after this. But other than that, I thank you all for tagging along with me on this journey of theories, and yeah, have a wonderful day, y'all. I will see you guys around. Hey there, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be honest, when I first got around to recording it, it took me about a few days after playing the game to play it, and then I procrastinated way too hard, hence why this video came out so late in comparison to when Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 dropped. But other than that, if you didn't know, I stream both here on YouTube and Twitch. Links for that are in the description of the video if you're interested in watching that. As per schedule, I kind of just stream when I can. It's fairly frequently, but yeah. Other than that, if you're interested, this August 13th, 2025, I'll be having a big special stream that I don't want to spoil too much about here. But if you want to swing on by and watch that, I'd really appreciate it. Other than that, if you enjoyed this, I'd really appreciate it if you would, like, comment, subscribe, the whole shabazz. I know, including myself, people hate hearing YouTubers say that, but, like, it helps us, boost with the almighty algorithm and all that. And then if you really are interested, I do have a Discord server also linked in the description. Other than that, yeah, I wish you all a great day.